So we are gonna look at how to bake your texture from one object, your messy 3D photo scan, onto another object, which is in this case a much more cleaner topology with a correctly unwrapped UV map. So let's go through this step by step and in the pace that suits you. Here you can see my scan. It's a room that I found on the internet, and there are lots of vertices on the wall, and walls are usually flat, so it doesn't make any sense that there are so many vertices. And so here I want to replace the wall with a new mesh that has very, very few vertices and gives me a very clean UV layout and clean texture that I can edit easily in other programs. So the first thing you'll need to do is you need to rebuild the shape. Here I already did it. Rebuild the shape of the thing you want to bake. So let me go into wireframe view. So I rebuilt the shape, and you can see I made it a bit bigger than the actual object itself. And this is where we will project the texture on. And so after you rebuild the shape, you want to copy it and make a slightly smaller version. Here you can see it, and call it cage. So you want to have this sandwich formation of cage, original mesh with the texture, and the target mesh. Let's call it target mesh. So you're gonna head over to the shading tabs, and you're gonna select the target texture. Let me rename this to target. So, and you want to select it so that you can see the materials. Okay, it has only one material. Let's call it wall target. Voila. And you want to plug in a texture node into the base color and create a new texture. Let's call it wall texture. Oh no, wall target dot texture. Voila. Here I have 124 pixels. That's enough for the sake of demonstration. And now we're gonna head over to our messy 3D scan, and we are gonna add, right click, add texture, image texture, an empty unconnected image texture node. This is what you do when you want to bake on that, like on a on an image texture. You have this unconnected node. We select the image texture we just created. So for it, wall target texture. Voila. And we have to select this like so, so it's highlighted. This will tell Blender that you want to bake on this texture. This is important for after. And now we can already get towards the baking. So what we're gonna do is we go here on the right to the render tab, and you have to make sure that you use the Cycles render engine and that you use your GPU because it's much stronger. And you're gonna go to the render tab here in the sampling, and you can turn it down. If you have a high number here, like 124 is enough. Okay, so denoise yes, and you go down. And now this is important that you have the right settings here. We want to bake only the color. And so in the bake time, the bake type, that means we choose diffuse. Diffuse means color. And under influence, we deselect direct and indirect. We only select the color. Direct and indirect here stands for the lightning. Now, next we select selected to active and the cage. You can press on this. Oh, I already had one selected. You can take this dropper and go on here, select the cage, and now that is set up. And here optional, depending on like how many times you have to render, or if you render different meshes, different materials onto the same texture, you might not want to clear the image, so you can like bake more and more on top of it. So I'm actually gonna turn this off here, and I have the margin set to 10 pixels. The margin is kind of a bleed around the UV map, like it will extend the color a few pixels, and that's pretty cool because it gives you much cleaner edge look. Sometimes if you don't have a flow and you overflow a margin and you start editing it, it will give you like white or black lines because the UV map isn't lined up perfectly anymore. So this gives you a little bit of security. Now, next thing. We're gonna get baking. So you select the unconnected wall texture, like I said before, to tell Blender this is the target texture I want to bake on. So that means you have the original mesh selected, you're in the material of the original mesh, and you select this target texture. Now, shift select the new target mesh, the new target object, and hit bake. And voila, you can see here on the left the bake texture, and this now makes a lot more sense than anything before, right? So what you want to do is you go here to image and save it, because Blender actually doesn't save it on default. So if you would now, well, target texture, yes. If you would now close Blender, then this bake is lost. And now this little star has disappeared. So this little star always says, hey, the image you have open here, it's not saved yet. So, and here you see it appeared on our wall because we already have it connected here as the image. And the resolution is not great because it's a small image, but for like a small resolution image, but for the sake of this presentation, that's totally fine. Okay, and so now you are able to really realign the new mesh with the walls, which I've already done here. If you have more time, you can do it better. And you can just start deleting away the parts that you don't want. And you see here the resolution is not great, but you can do it better. So you can delete the parts you want. Exactly. So here all the walls now are nice and clean, so everything can go away. And then, you know, it's because the scans, they are so uneven, it's not gonna do it perfectly. So like, for example, let's find a spot. Here there's like a weird thing happening. So that wasn't a very clean bake here. But because now you have a clean texture, clean UV map, you can bring this into Photoshop and simply correct the texture there and like fill that hole that happened up here. Yeah. And also maybe edit the color a bit, right? The sharpness and everything. So yes, so that's it. Now you can do this with all kinds of shapes. Just keep in mind that the more complex the shape, the more difficult it will be to have this cage sandwich. So you might need to do it in different stages. Okay, bye.